All right.
Sorry, I'm sorry. You want this recorded? Yes. My bad.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. You got it.
Thank you, Seth. All right. Michael, you wanna?
Sure. So, good evening, everyone. I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Scituate Charter Review Committee. It is 6:05 p.m. Does anyone want to take minutes?
Want to? I will.
All right. I will now entertain a motion to accept the agenda.
So moved.
Second,
All right, all in favor of accepting the agenda for tonight's meeting? Karen, I believe there's something I have to read about us having a remote meeting due to special order of the governor. So we'll take a voice vote. So I'll recognize myself. I, Marla,
yes.
Andreas,
Yes.
Becky,
Yes.
Karen,
Yes.
and Raymond.
Yes.
All right, the agenda has been unanimously accepted. First item on here. So why don't I just give a quick update of kind of where we are and what we need to do. And then since we have some of our folks here from Capitol, we can kind of jump right into that action item. So if you'll remember back to, I believe February is the last time we kind of met in full. We had sent the draft out to our town council, Cindy and Mara, to review and go through and make sure everything we're doing was in compliance with Mass General Law, or to tell us if some of the suggestions we were proposing were crazy. She came back with a couple tweak suggestions of, why did you make this language change, that language change? I had a call with her, and then Karen and I spoke later on and kind of talked through, we explained to her why we made these changes. There was no real issue with them. It was more, she'd said either I hadn't seen this in, a different charter, or this was a change we'd seen everywhere. But the couple big things she brought up that she recommended we change were specifically, I think everyone, I sent you all an email on this, but was section 3.9, which relates to the housing authority. She made some changes there just to bring it into compliance with the current law. It was changed sometime since 2003 when our charter was last reviewed. So we made that substantive change. Another substantive change she recommended, and this is one we talked about a lot, was in section 4.2, which is the town administrator powers and duties. We'd added some references in there that it was the town administrator or their designee that would be responsible for A, B, C, D. We put them in where it made sense. It was her recommendation that we remove that, because even if one of the town administrator's subordinates was the one that was fulfilling the duties under that section, ultimately the authority still rests with the town administrator to ensure that they are, in fact, complying with it in accordance with the charter. So, that made sense to me when she talked through it. They can't really designate away anything that's, their ultimate responsibility to ensure. That's complied with, but if anyone feels strongly about it, we can't talk about it now.
Just so I understand, just because you have a designee, you could, if you can designate someone, you can offload responsibility?
Right. So essentially it was her recommendation that you shouldn't add that in there, because ultimately the authority should rest with the town administrator.
Is that just a matter of case law, or is what's that based on? Because I would have thought, even though you designate someone, you still own it, right? I'm just curious.
Yeah, I think it was more a clarifying point.
All right.
Language I did.
It's more understanding. I'm not objecting to it. I'm fine with it. It's more curiosity than anything else.
Yep. Yeah, I think it was the town administrator is the ultimate authority. You don't want to put anything in there that calls into question that. And then let me see. I didn't, Karen, I don't think we had any others from Cindy.
No, but I would like, I mean, if, to just conclude that discussion, I mean, we all had, Michael and I both had the same reaction, like, no, we talked about that a lot. We want it to be clear who's doing what. But then the more we talked about it, we realized that, functionality versus sort of rule. We didn't have any problem with going back to it even after our well thought out arguments against. But what I wanted to know is, are you guys okay with removing those designate references? Raymond's nodding. Is there any objection? Becky's nodding. Okay. Yeah, those, Michael, your summary, those were the only two substantive things. Everything else was housekeeping things mostly.
Right. And, once we kind of talked through with her, or I guess I talked through with her why we made those changes, she said, yeah, okay, fine. I've just, had seen it differently elsewhere. But ultimately that rests with this committee if we want to make the recommendation to make those changes. So I guess moving forward, and, we've talked about this a lot and spent a lot of time on 6.6, which is the capital improvement program and the capital planning committee, which is why we have Chris and Richard here tonight to kind of weigh in on any final input to make sure that we've, captured what, everyone feels will be appropriate going forward. There wasn't a lot of substance around that provision in the 2003 charter, just kind of a blanket. It will be, the capital improvement plan will be delivered to advisory 5 months before annual town meeting. It didn't lay out, deadlines for who prepares what when and how it has to be reviewed. So, those are some of the things we ironed out to try and give everyone time, sufficient time to be able to review those changes. And before we jump into this conversation, I'll just preview for everyone now, because I'll probably abstain from any comments or changes. As of 5 hours ago now, I've been sworn in. I'm going to serve on the capital planning committee going forward.
Wait a minute.
Well, yeah.
Hey, he
Michael, be careful what you
volunteered.
wish for, Michael.
Right. Could be a glutton for punishment. But as my, duties with this committee kind of wind down, those will ramp up. So, yeah.
Okay, I will duly note that in the minute that you have it. I love
all right.
I love the compliance.
So, with that, Chris, Richard, I'd be curious to kind of hear your thoughts about this and kind of where we are and any comments you may have.
Michael, thank you. Thank you for the committee. Thanks for giving us a little time. Overall, I like the changes. The timetable seems better. I'd like to see have Nancy draw the timetable out on paper just so I can see it actually work. But ultimately, I think everything looks good. I spoke with Jim Boudreau about him and school committee not having votes, and Michael, we also spoke about it. And I think it's a good idea. Jim is the one that produces this whole plan, even though it is considered the select board's capital plan. So having him vote on something that he's already designed and submitted to us would seem kind of redundant. The removal of the school committee vote, I was surprised at, but Michael's reasoning was very, was right on. They do get 2/3 of the town budget, and, to have them voting on how the rest of the town spends our capital funds was a little more than they needed, I guess. Richard, did you have anything you wanted to add?
I guess maybe I'm looking at an older version. So if this is the version I had, and I had given you my comment a while ago when I'd read it.
Yes.
It says so there is one member of the school committee on here, and you're saying that was removed.
Yes, there's if you go to the charter committee's page on the town page, there's a red line.
Yeah, here, why don't I
version.
pull up? Seth, can I share my screen or am I
Nope,
prohibited?
you're able to share. Go right ahead.
Yeah, I think don't they remain as members but non-voting?
Member non-voting.
Yeah, exactly.
So let
They're
me.
still on the committee, they just can't vote.
can
Right,
everyone
so
see
they have,
this-
they
this
provide
Word
input
document?
just like Jim. Yep, there you go.
Okay, so just, this is what the red line looks like. For ease of us, going through this, and some of this is just kind of housekeeping formatting. That's why it looks so extensive. But we'll take you here to our changes with respect to capital.
Nice.
So here we have in A, the composition now with the capital planning committee. So it'll still consist of 5 voting members who will all be residents of the town. The town moderator will appoint them. And then this is where we removed subsequent voting members. So the town administrator and a member designated by the school committee then were also voting members. So it was up to 7. And then advisory, I believe the school committee also had a second member that could be on, and a member of the select board were, kind of advisory, non-voting members. So the substantive change to the composition of the committee that this charter review committee will recommend to the select board and then ultimately a town meeting is to remove everyone except the 5 residents appointed by the moderator as voting members. So it takes away the town administrator's vote, which, as Chris said, it's that individual's plan right now. Jim, we have, I think Jim's a great example of why it's probably not long-term appropriate for the town administrator to be voting on this. One, because that person prepares the plan, but also they might not be a resident of the town, which is the case we have with Jim, which has nothing to, he does a fantastic job, but the residents should be the ones determining where we spend our money. And then same with school committee, had a voting member. We removed that one, then it makes it easier with just an odd number of 5 residents. But school committee's already included in what the town administrator ultimately prepares is the capital improvement plan. So if they then, similar to the town administrator having a vote, got to vote again on where money was allocated, it gives them a second bite at the apple. So they've already had that ability when they present to the town administrator and then that individual is able to kind of cost benefit analysis weigh where things should be allocated. And this committee felt that it was appropriate for everyone to have that same opportunity and then for it to be reviewed independently. So we'll still have non-voting advisory members in the town administrator, a member designated by the select board, member designated by advisory, and then by school committee. So they'll all be there and be able to contribute. They just can't vote ultimately.
Okay, then I agree with what you have there. I guess I have nothing here for the charter. I would say it's a matter of practice and process. And again, I sent Chris this comment earlier. One of the things that I think is missing from the advisory part that could be improved is our recommendations or minutes on things that we discuss in our meetings. It's hard for me to find where our minutes are. And it's hard for me to find where any recommendations that we may have that are contrary to what's being put forth are recognized. So like we hand out a booklet at the town meeting says capital planning expense X. And as someone who comes in doesn't know the processes, I don't see anywhere in that little booklet where capital planning reviewed it and said X or didn't say anything. So those are the two things, because our role is strictly advisory, and for our advice to mean anything, it has to have exposure and transparency. And so those are the two things that are missing as a process that aren't part of this document, but I think need to be put someplace or recognized someplace so that the advisory role is useful for the people interested in the opinion.
Well, like you said, Richard, that is housekeeping stuff that we can address as a committee. Yeah, Karen and I had discussions about how much detail goes into the charter versus bylaws and things like that. And only the basics go in the charter. How we run our committees is part of the bylaws and, the general SOPs of each committee. So that's definitely something that we can address within the committee and develop that, so moving forward, it's something that we have in writing for everybody after us.
Okay,
Yeah, and Richard, I will say, as part of this committee's work, after we've kind of shepherded these changes to a special town meeting now in September, there'll also be a host of recommendations for a bylaw review committee to look into of things they should consider going forward, or things that we felt were outside of the charter scope, but should be considered there, as well as things that could be reviewed by a charter review commission, which could review things like town government changes or changes to the election process. For example, for positions for school committee or the select board, to remove those and have it be the top 2 vote getters. But that's outside the scope of this committee. It would have to be reviewed by a commission. But so there are a host of changes that are going to be recommended for other bodies to look into after this work.
so just so I'm clear, given what Chris had just said, so I take then the understanding would be that if the capital planning committee said, we want to have our minutes, placed someplace or put in the booklet that's handed out, that's an action that is handled as part of normal process and business.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
I have one question on that. Remind me, Michael, under the advisory committee charge, it does say in the charter, I believe, I'm going from memory here, it does say, I believe, that they produced the booklet. In there, does it require them to include the capital planning's recommendations? Because in practice, that's what happens. It's in there under the capital, right, Chris? I think there's normally, like, if they do their booklet and they say capital planning is supported, all of these except for items 4 and 5.
We've always been mentioned, we'll give comments, when I report to advisory, that report is usually included in their booklet presentation, plus usually the chart of all the items, costs, and things like that.
Right, but
It usually doesn't get into the nitty gritty of how we voted and the discussions that happened within capital.
Right, that's not appropriate in the charter because it is the details, but I can't remember if it's spelled out in the charter that that's something that's included in the advisory, that's required in the advisory booklet. Do you know, Michael? Are you flipping through?
I don't know off the top of my head. I was just going to go try and look.
I don't remember us detailing the specifics of what went into the advisory booklet.
Okay.
I
Yeah,
think it was just, it had to be produced X days before this and so many days before that, blah, etc.
Right, and I think that was-
Just be clear, I'm not suggesting that the minutes get posted in the advisory booklet at town meeting. I'm suggesting 2 things. One, I'm suggesting that the minutes are accessible in a way that someone could find them.
Hey, Richard,
I'm on the committee. And the second thing is that in the event that we have a recommendation, positive or negative, it's included in the booklet. And I didn't see that in the last booklet.
so, and not to belabor this whole thing, the minutes from our previous year are the only minutes that currently exist, and they're still on my computer. I do have to, submit some stuff, all right?
I'm not here to put you under the fire, Chris.
Well, you are.
Say that,
So- And I forgot what the other part of my statement was, but no, our recommendations are typically what is, that chart that is, the recommended items and their funding. That chart is usually there, not specifically stated that capital recommended it.
again, I'm not suggesting that we say that the chart, to the extent that those are different. Again, there are things that, and they're not many, just to be clear, there's not many, but there are items where we say something substantive that, so I can give you one that should be in that booklet so that people that read that. So, I think of all the big capital projects, which are foreshore, the water treatment, and school, and I'm missing one that I can't think of off the top of my head. But those things, there are substantive things that we made comments on there. They should be noted. Those comments should be part of what we said. We agree with this, and foreshore should have a recommendation so that there is accessibility to the new development of a wall. That's one in particular I can think of. So that's what I'm trying to get to. That's not the whole minutes. That's exactly to what the idea that's being brought forth in the, in the town meeting.
I agree.
That's what I'm talking about, just so we're clear.
So it would seem to me that the way to handle that is a conversation between the chair of capital and the chair of advisory, so that could be part of the booklet. And that is not part of this committee's conversation.
I understand, and I wasn't trying to sidetrack. I'm just trying to
Yep, no, it's a
to
good
be
point.
improved in the role.
Okay.
All right, so with respect to the substance of the change, or the composition, I should say, of the capital planning committee, and then the timing that this committee put together, as two representatives on capital, you feel that those are improvements to the current structure of the charter, I guess you'd say, or don't have any strong objection to the changes that we've made.
I liked the changes.
All right. All right. So with that, I'll kind of transition back to the members of this committee, Charter Review Committee. Does anyone here have any other substantive changes that they want to discuss now, that we've missed, or a new one that's come along? Because I think at some point we need to really finalize this and then clean up the existing red line. It has a million colors and formatting issues. And then we need to talk about a socialization plan and how, and we don't necessarily need to do it tonight, but how the presentation at special town meeting is going to go, which is now moved up to September 19th. So that'll be here, I think, before we know it.
I have nothing substantive. I think we've really done a good job of going through it line by line. Anyone else?
Very good
Nothing
job.
further.
I would suggest, Michael, that if we can make a vote to accept the changes proposed as the final. I know Marla's got another commitment, so I would like to have the board have that vote before we lose her. Anybody has anything else?
Thank you.
All right, then do you have a motion, Karen?
I move that the Charter Review Committee accept the proposed version of the recommendations to our charter revision as proposed. I said proposed twice. I get to rewrite it because I'm doing it on it.
And I'll just say it's currently version 6, dated May 17th, 2022.
Second,
All right, all those in favor? Marla,
Aye.
Andreas,
Yes.
Becky,
Yes.
Karen,
Yes,
Raymond,
yes.
and I also agree, yes. So the motion carries unanimously. The charter, as the recommendations that we've made, will be the final version that will move forward. I would make a, well, who wants to do it? Karen, do you want to be responsible for any technical changes, or do you want me to? if we need to
We're
make it.
gonna work out the logistics. So a little update, we did post for an intern. We were hoping we could find someone like Brett to help clean up everything. And we are at this moment without such support. So I think we could probably talk about the tech, who's gonna do it offline. But
Yeah, as long as nothing.
unless somebody is raising their hand and jumping up and down to be our paralegal. I'm looking at Becky, who's muted. We're gonna have to figure that one out, Mr. Chair. But are you asking, is there any objection to technical changes? Is that the question on the floor, or should we make that motion?
Yeah, we might as well, I guess.
I move that we authorize the chair or his designee to make non-substantive revisions to the document for clerical and clarity purposes.
Second,
All right, all those in favor, Marla,
Aye.
Andreas,
Yes.
Becky,
Yes.
Karen,
Yes.
Raymond,
yes,
and yes from me as well. So the motion unanimously passes.
And good evening. Can you folks hear me? It's Lincoln. I'm sorry.
Oh, hey,
Lincoln.
Hey, sorry. Cat's at the vet. I'm sorry. Anyway, but please put me down for yes. I heard a little bit of that. Thank you.
Okay.
Lincoln as well. Okay, so the final thing to just kind of preview or discuss tonight. So I don't know if all of you are aware, but you will be now. So special town meeting will be Monday, September 19th. It was moved up by the select board in part or in whole, I guess, due to the water treatment plant and site and design vote and everything that comes with it. So it's a little bit earlier than we thought, but I think we're in a good place to push these changes forward and, hopefully get them approved. So I guess, Karen, one question I have for you is at special town meeting, I think ultimately someone has to present these changes. Is that going to come from the select board? I mean, right, because ultimately the select board needs to approve these changes.
Right, so the next step is we will submit to the board prior, I mean, the warrant, there's a placeholder on the warrant, so we need to notify the board that the final recommendations have been final, send them to them, have them, have the opportunity to comment. I don't believe there were many comments the first round. And then they will approve it to be placed on the warrant. So that we'll have to get that on the agenda. I would think that we should do that after we have a public forum of some sort. Just in case somebody has a great idea we haven't thought about, so that we're not going back to the selectmen with, oh, by the way, someone had a great idea we didn't think about. And I think it's fine because if we're September 19th, if we get on the agenda by the end of, by mid-August, it's fine. So that gives us 6 or 7 weeks to have a public forum. Sigh. And then we need to just talk about logistics and as far as presenting it, the board will they will make the recommendation based on this committee will recommend to the board, they will accept or not accept. If they accept, they'll bring it to the floor. We can recommend who's going to make that presentation. Honestly, Michael, I would like it to be you as the chair.
I was going to look toward you, but
yeah, well, I'm perfectly, as that, I would be the second choice as the liaison from the board to this committee. So I don't really care one way or another.
Unless there's any other takers.
I second Michael. Sorry.
All right.
I think that was a motion, wasn't it, Karen?
That was a recommendation, but we'll take, yeah, I mean, I honestly just personally, I think it's always fresher coming from someone not on a standing, on the board, because, this was a very collaborative work. And I want to enforce that it was something that a bunch of thoughtful people sat down and thought about. And it wasn't just the board going, yeah, let's change things, you know?
Yeah, so, and I mean, I'm just thinking to that, it'll kind of be like our public forum or even select board presentation, right? Of, these are things that were completely outside our scope. We can talk about them all we want, but it wasn't within this charter or this committee's authority to recommend changes, because I'm sure something will come up about the type of town government.
Yeah, actually, that's exactly right. Whatever we do, I'm thinking of PowerPoint of five slides max that we did before.
Yep.
Up and then present that to the public
Yeah.
forum, and that's the talking points for town meeting.
And, most of the changes were technical or kind of bringing language up to the, 21st century. And then here are the big substantive changes that we made. Not even big. Here are the substantive changes that we made, and everybody can, or anyone can talk on the floor if they want. But ultimately, could someone try to amend the
Yeah.
red line on the floor? Because
it has
I'm
happened.
thinking the article in the warrant's just going to be to approve the red line as proposed, right? So even if you made an amendment to the article, you can't really amend the underlying document. And that's a Jim Toomey question.
Yeah, that is a Jim Toomey, because he won't, his bar is it substantive? So if somebody decided that, I can't even think what it is, but if somebody wanted to change something that wasn't election related, that was substantive, like, let's say they wanted to eliminate advisory, that'd be substantive. It's not election, right? If they wanted to just eliminate that, I would think that the Toomey would say that's too substantive to the document, to the proposal. So if somebody wants to come in and change a number from 5 days to 10 days, we could have a debate on that, I would think.
Yeah, I'll give him a call and ask
Okay.
and just get his thoughts.
Well, yeah, because you have to define substantive.
Yeah, and it really is the discretion and of the town moderator as interpreting the Mass General Law, I believe. So, yeah, that's a good question.
That's a lot of leeway.
Yeah, it is. So
I
it's what
can't
Jim-
confirm from the annual town meeting.
Yes. Yes, it is. But that's how it works. Okay, so
All right, so I mean, that's not really a committee question. That's more just trying to figure out what that procedurally is going to look like. So public forum, 1, 2, we already did a few. We haven't really changed anything since. We've just done cleanup, figured out our timeline, the town council revisions.
I have a proposal. Why don't we have our nice clean document, which we have to figure out logistics on that. Say we have it by, let's aggressively say we have it by mid-July. We post it online with the slides, we can make sure the slides are correct now. And with a contact information, and just let people, if they have something they want to see, have it available for everybody and push it out there very hard. And have Jim mention it during the, video updates and stuff like that. And because I think we're right. We've had 3.
At least 2.
At least 2. Nobody came to the second one, including me, until someone reminded me I was late.
2 that nobody came to.
Yeah.
No,
So
I mean, I like to just post it publicly, and if you have a comment, send it to this dead letterbox.
We will send it to the select board's office.
Like I said,
Okay, well, let's do that and put our efforts into getting this document cleaned up. And I'm fine with not worrying about a forum. Anybody else want to go talk to each other again and not have anyone pay attention?
I think it makes. Sorry,
anything
go ahead, Lou.
substantively. I don't think anything substantively has changed since those forums, correct?
No,
I
I don't
believe. So,
and if it's going to
we
be,
did
and if it's this in the water treatment facility, I think the water treatment plant's going to get all the airtime, and this is.
You think?
I don't know why we get all the airtime.
You know what
But-
might be cool though is does anybody have some time to kill, want to write like a letter to the editor and we could give it to the Mariner to post that says, you know, hey, we haven't done this since 2003.
Nicole and I had to give interviews when we presented to the select board way back when. Some guy from like WBZ radio or some.
Oh, WATD guy, yeah.
Yeah. I think he was focused on the wrong thing, but he was very concerned about why we were making changes to the charter. I never saw the article though, so I guess it didn't get out there.
What was he focused on, Michael?
Why we were making changes,
Oh.
why we thought they were important, whether there were changes to the type of town government, things of that nature.
Okay. Okay, so no one's picking up what I'm putting down, so if I'll look at do I have the slides? I think I might have the slides.
Yeah, you do or I do. Well, we could.
Maybe I'll just use that and use
Can
that as a draft.
Yeah, I guess the only thing I would say, and it's pretty easy, if we try to finish it by mid-July and then we do push it out, if all of a sudden there's a crazy amount of feedback that comes through, we can just call a meeting
Yep.
quickly and try to get it together.
Yeah, I'll buy you a box of donuts if there's a crazy amount of feedback.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough.
Okay,
Okay, great.
all right. All right. Cool. I do have one young woman that's actually interested in becoming an attorney who I might be able to talk into helping us. So I will, I'll see if I can convince her that, I'll tell her that some of the members will give her a box of donuts and.
Well, first talk her out of becoming a lawyer.
Okay, well, I'll leave that one
For
to
help.
you. This might do it.
Hey, can someone, we're working off the January 18th red line, correct?
No, we're working off the May 17th. I will flip it to you, but substantively, the only changes are a couple comments from town council that we reverted.
Yeah.
And one was just bringing something into compliance with current law.
So Michael, if you could, or whomever, if somebody could please just drop a fresh red lines and that would be to the whole committee, that'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah, I will do that. Right
Sorry, I missed the May. I was looking through the emails. I saw the January, but I didn't see the May. So anyway, it would be great if to have it at the top of the email box. That's all.
Definitely. Easy enough.
All right,
Do you have anything else, Karen?
I do not. I think everything else is gonna be logistics of getting everything done by mid-July. We can take that offline.
Yeah, that'll be here before we know it too.
I know. Yeah, we're gonna start with a nice clean copy of the document from Lorraine. I think we have to start over. Probably. Okay, we'll talk about that offline. Would you like a motion to adjourn?
I will so entertain.
Move that we adjourn.
Seconded.
All right. All those in favor of the motion to adjourn, Andreas,
Yes.
Karen,
Yes.
Raymond,
yes.
Becky,
Yes.
Lincoln.
Yes.
Yes, for me as well. Thank you, everyone. Call the meeting to close at 6:43 p.m.